Welcome back to my channel. I just got out of Latin Mass a little bit ago, and I just wanted to do like a recap or maybe give someone encouragement to go to traditional Latin Mass if you've been thinking about it. That being said, if you love your church, if you love your parish, I don't think you need to go to traditional Latin Mass. I'm not saying everyone needs to go seek out traditional Latin Mass, but for me personally, I have talked about this in some other videos. Traditional Latin Mass, I'm gonna say TLM, but TLM was like, it clicked for me the first time I went, and I'm like, wow, this is what Mass is supposed to be. Like, it just felt right. It just felt like at home. I feel the most at home and connected to God in traditional Latin Mass. And I know some people have never gone. It is in Latin, so the homily and the gospel is read in English, so you do understand the gospel when the priest reads it and his homily, but the rest of the Mass is in Latin. Even if you have never been to a Latin Mass or you don't understand Latin, most people don't know the whole Mass in Latin. You still will know what's going on because you were at the Catholic Church, and the Mass is mostly the same. When you go to like a Novus Ordo or a TLM, there is a little bit of a difference. But as far as like kneeling and sitting and standing and such, you'll know when to sit and stand and kneel if you just look at the people around you or in front of you. And it's so beautiful. The reverence is just another level, which I talk about reverence so much in my journey back to the Catholic Church and why I wanted to be Catholic again. And I personally really love the silence. I wanted to talk about it today because I went to a high Mass, and usually there's a lot of singing in a choir, and the choir must have been off today. There's also a low Mass, and there's no choir in the low Mass, and I actually really love low Mass because I love the silence. I feel like the low Mass and adoration is when I hear like God speak to me the most. So that's just my preference, and I feel the most connected to God during a low Mass. Although I love music, that is still beautiful. It's just different for everyone, of course. But yeah, if you have a traditional Latin Mass in your area, you can just look it up. You can go to traditional Latin Mass. Even if you're not Catholic, you can go as well. I always say this in my videos in case you don't know. You cannot receive communion or the Eucharist if you're not Catholic. You also can't receive it if you're Catholic and you're in a state of mortal sin, which means you haven't gone to confession and you have committed a mortal sin since your last confession. And just for example, like missing Mass on Sunday is a mortal sin. You can look up the mortal sins, but there's a lot of things that require us to go to confession. So just make sure, again, as a Catholic, you're not receiving the Eucharist if you need to go to confession. I actually needed to go to confession today and discerned I should not receive the Eucharist. I did not get there to Mass early enough to go to confession. They have confession before Mass. So I did not receive communion or the Eucharist, and I'm actually going to confession tonight at another parish I go to make sure I get to confession as soon as possible. And if you are a Catholic, you know, like, we are supposed to get to confession as soon as we are living in mortal sin, and that's honestly the most important thing in life, is to make sure we are living in obedience to God. We don't want to sin or have to go to confession, but since we're not perfect, that is the sacrament that God left us. But yeah, hopefully I have encouraged someone to look into traditional Latin Mass, or just share the beauty of it and the joy and the reverence of traditional Latin Mass. Again, this is more so if you are someone who has felt called to go, or if you are someone who is curious, or maybe you're not Catholic and the traditional Latin Mass is drawing you into the Catholic faith. I highly recommend it. And I do wear a veil to traditional Latin Mass. You can wear a veil to any Mass. It doesn't have to be a Latin Mass. Veiling is a Catholic tradition. You don't have to wear a veil at a traditional Latin Mass, but at my parish, I would say most of the women do. And if you don't have a veil, some parishes have veils like in a basket before you go in, but I would not count on that. Traditionally, if you are a woman who is unmarried, you would wear a white veil, and if you are married, you would wear a black veil. Of course, there's a lot of different colored veils. You can wear any color you want. Sometimes it's nice to wear like a certain color based on the liturgical season or the feast day. But yeah, and I've seen married women wear white veils and unmarried women wear black veils, etc. But it can be fun to follow the tradition. So yeah, you can type in veil. This one's a little bit longer and bigger than a lot of veils, and all you have to do is just take 2 pins. You can type in veil clips on Amazon. Just a reminder as well, if you've never been to Catholic Mass or traditional Latin Mass, I would definitely cover your shoulders. I would wear something past your knees. I would wear something that covers up if you have any like cleavage showing, and I wouldn't wear something like super tight. Again, this is just out of respect for God and being modest in Christ's church. I do love the traditional Latin Mass as well because everyone dresses very modest and everyone dresses up for Mass for the most part. Most of the men wear suits or at least a button-up and a tie every week, which I think is awesome to have that reverence and respect for the Lord. But yeah, let me know your experience going to traditional Latin Mass. What's your favorite thing about it? And if you have a favorite traditional Latin Mass parish, please leave it in the comments below. I would love to hear. One of my goals or dreams in life is to visit as many TLM parishes as I can because I just love the beauty of Catholicism. My favorite parish, TLM parish I've been to thus far in life, is the National Shrine of St. Alphonsus Liguori. It is in Baltimore and it is stunning. It is Gothic architecture. It's absolutely beautiful. If you've been to Mass there, let me know. And I hope you guys have a blessed rest of your Sunday, and I will see you in the next video.